Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, a Crescent Valley resident warns of a dangerous highway hazard on Highway 185. Plus, severe weather challenges Mardi Gras, prompting safety changes and early cancellation plans. Plus, powerful storms threaten millions across the South.
Well, that's part of the same system that brought us this strong gusty wind that we have out there today. We peaked out at 55 miles an hour this afternoon. Winds will settle down overnight, but they'll still be rather breezy. And we'll talk about the severe weather that occurred in North Texas coming up in a moment. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Plus, the APA and YouTube team up to guide parents on team video viewing. You're watching 25 News Now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Shauna Curry. 2 people are dead after a one-vehicle crash in Yoakum. Authorities say 21-year-old Peyton Robert Giral and 17-year-old Francesca Solis died at the scene on Hahn Road at Farm to Market Road 682. Giral was driving. Solis was a rear passenger in the truck. 2 others, Fred Lawrence Rosales Jr. and Justine Cruz, were hurt. Cruz remains in ICU in San Antonio. Troopers say the crash happened early Saturday morning. The truck was traveling too fast for heavy fog conditions, hit a tree, overturned, and caught fire. The investigation is ongoing and an autopsy has been ordered for the driver. A Crescent Valley resident says that she is in danger every time she leaves her driveway, and she's looking for help from Victoria County commissioners. 25 News Now reporter Trenton Whiting joins us with more details. Trenton?
Yes, Shauna. Crescent Valley resident Mary Alva says several parked cars on the shoulder of Highway 185 blocked the view of oncoming traffic. Alva lives on Hilltop Road in Crescent Valley. Over the weekend, one of the cars caught fire. She says the parked cars along the shoulder of Highway 185 makes merging onto the highway dangerous. She has tried to report this problem to local leaders, but hasn't gotten any answers so far.
See, I live on the last house on the hill, but when I come across to cross over, you've got all these vehicles in the way. I've talked to the constable. I've talked to Myers, won't pick up his phone. Rivera didn't want to give me his number. It's ridiculous.
Alva hasn't had any accidents yet, but she's looking for prompt assistance and is concerned about the lack of a response coming from her elected leaders. We've reached out to the Victoria County Commissioner for that area, the Victoria County Sheriff's Office, and TxDOT. We're waiting to hear back from each of those sources. Shauna, back to you.
All right, thank you, Trenton. Big deadlines are coming up for the May election. April 3rd is the last day to register to vote in the election. Early voting runs from April 22nd to April 29th, and that first day is also the deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot. Then Election Day is May 3rd. Severe weather is sweeping across the South, impacting more than 55 million people. This powerful storm is bringing tornadoes, blizzard conditions, and heavy rain across multiple states. In New Orleans, officials had to make last-minute changes to Mardi Gras celebrations as winds could hit 50 miles per hour, according to the National Weather Service. Parts of Texas and Oklahoma were under a tornado watch today, and storms packing heavy rain, strong winds, tornadoes, and hail are expected from eastern Texas to western Georgia. Well, a windy Tuesday here as well. This is right outside of our studios. You can see the flag flying, the weather vanes going, everything was moving, and I think you could probably feel the wind just by looking outside. So let's go to Mac Perez with the first look at our forecast. Mac, are we going to continue seeing these strong winds like we had today?
Well, for the time being, but by overnight, they're going to start weakening. But it has been something. And all that dust in the air, that's West Texas. I mean, Lubbock had 60-mile-an-hour winds. That kicked up all the dirt. The dirt's flying down into our area. Here's Dallas, here's Austin, and here we are. Notice the stormy weather up there. We got the tail end of that. That's why we got very little rain, but that is now past our area, and all we have to deal with is that very dry air and the gusty winds. We're still under a red flag warning, and we'll talk more about your weather coming up in just a moment. Shauna, back to you.
Well, today is Fat Tuesday, the official end to Mardi Gras. This year, there has been a strict focus on safety and security in light of the deadly terrorist attack that took 14 lives in New Orleans on New Year's Day. On top of that, the severe weather is impacting celebrations. Lee Waldman reports on how the city is dealing with the weather moving in.
Carnival is a very important cultural event for our city. And so if I can accommodate and do it safely, I am going to try.
An abbreviated end to New Orleans' famed Mardi Gras as the potential for severe weather threatens to dampen celebrations. If the weather changes for the worse, Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick says she'll end the festivities early.
I hold that trump card in which I will not hesitate to cancel.
Monday, the crew of Orpheus delighted the crowds with marching band music and light-up floats before Tuesday's threat of severe thunderstorms. But this year, the weather isn't all that's different. The French Quarter is blocked by National Guard and Louisiana State Police. Bourbon Street is hardened with law enforcement vehicles just feet away from the memorial to the 14 lives lost on January 1st.
I think the city of New Orleans understands it, and we're very glad that that's happening.
Deputy Superintendent Nicholas Gernon for NOPD says in addition to vehicle mitigation, they're banning things like coolers from being carried into Bourbon Street because of the terror attack.
Large bags are being searched by the National Guard.
Despite the changes, the Big Easy will always find a way to make it through.
New Orleans always bounce back, baby. Where you from?
Laissez bon ton rouler. Let the good times roll.
In New Orleans, I'm Lee Waldman.
For the first time, people in Austin can catch a ride without a driver. Through the Uber app, riders can now book a self-driving Jaguar I-Pace, which seats up to 4 people. If you want a better chance at getting a Waymo driverless car, you can just tweak your rider preferences. There's no extra cost. And if you would rather stick with a human driver, you can always request a different ride. Waymo is also set to launch in Atlanta later this year. So this brings us to our viewer poll. What concerns you most about driverless cars? Is it safety and accident risks, technical malfunctions, lack of human assistance, or do you have no concerns? You're excited for them and the fact that they're becoming available. We want to hear from you. Visit crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. And 3/4 of you say that safety and accident risks are the biggest concern with driverless cars. So continue voting. We'll have the latest on 25 News Now at 6. You don't have to be a parent to know teenagers tend to spend a lot of time glued to their devices. While there's been concern about how much teens spend staring at their smartphones and tablets each day, some experts say it's more of a question about quality than quantity. ABC's Melissa Adon has more on new guidelines released today by the American Psychological Association and YouTube.
The increasing demand of our digital world has led to more and more people consuming digital media, including teenagers, which is why the American Psychological Association, along with YouTube, created an evidence-based guide to help parents navigate the world of teen video viewing.
It is the type of content that they're watching, what they're seeing, that matters much more than how they're getting it, whether it's television or videos or screens.
Following analysis of hundreds of studies, the APA suggests parents develop healthy viewing habits and balance screen time, starting by focusing on beneficial content that fosters positive social interactions, has educational material, or sparks joyful, inspirational, funny storylines. ABC's chief medical correspondent, Dr. Tara Narula, suggests teens engage in content such as DIY or how-to videos.
Educational content where they can learn new skills, how to problem solve. I know my girls learn how to crochet and bake on YouTube, for example.
Then there is harmful content to avoid. Videos which depict violence, aggression, or discuss substance abuse, risky challenges, or present unrealistic body standards. Dr. Narula advises to teach teens media literacy, including being aware of AI-generated content.
The other thing is getting engaged in what your kids are watching. So asking them, for example, what are you looking at, with these open-ended questions? Why does this interest you? As opposed to being maybe critical or judgmental.
The American Psychological Association recommends no screen time for children under 2 and limited hours for kids under 5. As for teens, they recommend limiting time spent on certain digital activities rather than choosing a general screen time limit. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
DeWitt County Sheriff's Office Lieutenant Investigator Bethany Hobbs has been accepted into a prestigious 10-week course at the FBI National Academy. To read this story, visit our website, crossroadstoday.com. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Stay with us. Straight ahead on 25 News now at 5. The truth behind HPV myths and what you need to know. Plus, Ukraine reacts to President Trump's pause on military aid amid tensions with Russia. Is a common virus that can lead to cancer later in life, but there are plenty of misconceptions about it. The CDC says almost everyone who is not vaccinated will get it at some point. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither talks to a cancer expert to clear up 5 common HPV myths.
In the U.S., more than 42 million people are infected with types of HPV that can cause disease. Most HPV infections will go away by themselves, but others can last longer and can cause some cancers.
80% of people who have ever had sexual intercourse will have been infected with HPV.
Electra Paskett with the Ohio State University Comprehensive Cancer Center says the first HPV misconception is that only women get the virus. In fact, every year in the U.S., HPV causes about 36,000 cases of up to 6 different cancers in both men and women, including cervical, penile, anal, and cancers in the back of the throat. Myth 2, HPV infections cause symptoms. Paskett says most people will not have signs of the virus unless it progresses to cancer. 3, there's a cure for HPV. While treatments are available, there's currently no cure for the virus itself. 4, the HPV vaccine is only for girls. It's actually a routine vaccination recommended for all children at age 11 or 12 or through age 26 if not adequately vaccinated when younger. Finally, the myth that the HPV vaccine isn't safe and effective. Paskett says research shows that's not true.
For many years, the American public has been wanting a cancer vaccine. We have a cancer vaccine. Let's get it.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The CDC says the HPV vaccine has the potential to protect against 90% of cancers caused by the virus, and it's most effective when it's given before the person is exposed to HPV. That's why it's recommended in childhood. The U.S. Supreme Court is considering a lawsuit from Mexico against American gun manufacturers. Justices heard arguments today in the case, which stems from Mexico's 2021 lawsuit seeking $10 billion from top U.S. gun makers. Mexico claims these companies design and market their guns for drug cartels and should be held responsible for border violence. Gun rights groups, including the NRA, strongly oppose the lawsuit, calling it an attempt to take down the U.S. gun industry. They argue it undermines a 2005 law that protects manufacturers from being sued over crimes committed with their guns. A major escalation in the diplomatic tensions between the U.S. and Ukraine. President Trump suspending military aid to Ukraine. Both Ukraine and Russia now responding. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest developments.
Ukraine now reacting to President Trump's pause in all military aid. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky not directly addressing the pause in aid, but saying Ukraine is ready to work with President Trump to bring lasting peace and an end to the war with Russia. Trump's order follows Friday's confrontation in the Oval Office, where the previously close relationship between the U.S. and Ukraine took a sharp turn.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
Most weapon shipments approved by former President Biden have already been delivered to Ukraine, meaning Trump's order will affect mostly armored vehicles and potential future weapon shipments. This could lead to ammunition and weapons shortages within 6 months, according to assessments from current and former Ukrainian officials as well as independent experts.
Right now, Ukraine is already outnumbered vastly, so about 3-to-1 on troops, about 5-to-1 on artillery, and all the way up to 10-to-1 on tanks and armored personnel carrier. So any pause or disruption or stopping of aid to Ukraine will have a big impact on Ukraine in the battlefield.
Russia saying if the U.S. suspends these supplies, it will probably be the best contribution to peace. Following Friday's disastrous meeting, President Zelensky told to leave the White House, a mineral deal canceled. Vice President J.D. Vance saying the administration is still open to signing that agreement, which he says will help secure Ukraine.
The mineral deal is a really important part of the president's policy. Number one, the American people have got to get some payback for the incredible financial investment we've made in this country.
Zelensky also says Ukraine is ready to sign that minerals deal at any time, and they see it as a step toward greater security for their country. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's rather dusty out there with that strong wind that blew in. Right about now, we're still looking at northwest winds at 23 sustained, so we're gusting up to about 30, 35. We had a peak wind of 55 earlier this afternoon. You probably heard it and felt it. And our humidity has dropped down to almost nothing. You can see how low it is. We managed to get up to 81 this afternoon. 57 was our low this morning. For the rest of the week, we're going to be, shall we say, not as warm, but very, very dry. And chances for rain are really slim. We'll talk more about it coming up after this. Well, as expected, that front came through this morning right at 9 o'clock on the nose. It came through and, of course, shifted everything around, blew away all that humidity, and, of course, brought us a few little showers through the area. But, of course, the big stuff last night was up in the Dallas area. They had tornado warnings pretty much overnight long, in addition to the howling winds. But that is all way out here in Louisiana. You can see where all the big stuff is occurring right about now. So what's happening up north? Well, we still continue with that northwest wind, and that northwest wind is bringing us a little piece of Lubbock down into our region. This is West Texas dirt flowing in the air, and it's certainly visiting us right now. Colder weather up here in the Amarillo area, but none of that really is coming down toward us, slightly cooler for the next couple of days. But the red flag warnings still continue in effect, and wind warnings pretty much will continue all over Texas. You can see how that advisory is going from 6 p.m. Until Tuesday at 6 p.m. So the watches will slowly be dropping overnight as the winds settle down to below 30 miles an hour. Of course, you saw the video of the howling winds really blowing through the area. Right at about, I think it was about 2 o'clock, we had a 50-mile-an-hour wind gust, and the palm trees were blowing. And, you know, I think I mentioned yesterday afternoon, I said, bring in the patio furniture because it may blow away. Hopefully you did, and hopefully your trash cans didn't blow down the street either. But there's the wind. It's still coming at us from the west-northwest as that storm system rapidly moves away. The stuff in Louisiana tonight is happening right now, is the stormy weather. Right about the time that the parades are supposed to start. So it will be gone within the hour or two, but right about now it's happening. All they have to do is wait maybe 2 hours and they'll be much better shape. So we're taking a look at the big picture. This is, of course, the big storm doing all the damage right now. On the west coast, there's another storm that'll affect us later this week, probably by the weekend, and that may cool us down just a tad. Overnight lows slightly cooler than last night, down to about 50 tonight. Tomorrow we're going to be in the 70s, 74 degrees, a slight decrease in temperatures. It's that northwest dry wind that will continue buffeting the region, but certainly at a lesser speed. There's our storm today. There it goes tomorrow. There we've got the high pressure giving us fair weather, but dry, dusty weather. And then we'll watch for that system. You see it come ashore on the west coast. That is Thursday. And then that's Friday. And then on Saturday, it breaks out into the plains right here. You can see how Dallas will get some stormy weather. We won't, but there's a chance we may get another little line of showers moving through as that system passes over the region. So tomorrow morning, getting down to a 57 in Port Lavaca, lots of sunshine, dry humidity, getting up to a high of 76 with that northerly wind. I'm looking at 52 tonight in Cuero and up to 75 tomorrow. 7-day forecast on the dry side for tomorrow, still breezy, 76 on Thursday, a little warmer on Friday as the Gulf air rolls back in, a 20% of that west coast storm, and then drier, a little cooler weather. But in terms of any significant rainfall, it's just not in the cards for us right about now. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads a day on your phone. Here's Shauna.
All right, thank you, Mac. Well, coming up on 25 News Now at 5, we will see how new tariffs on top trading partners could drive up prices for Americans. Don't go away. Stocks sank today as President Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada and Mexico took effect. Investors are concerned that Trump's actions could pave the way for a global trade war. Here are the closing numbers. The Dow lost 670 points, while the S&P 500 fell 72 points. Meanwhile, the Nasdaq fell 65 points, and oil is down 53 cents to $67.84 per barrel. President Trump's tariffs on America's top trading partners could mean higher prices for consumers and businesses. Nearly all imports from China, Mexico, and Canada now face tariffs of 20 to 25%. While the impact won't be immediate, it could drive up prices on food, electronics, toys, appliances, and even cars, since many vehicles sold in the U.S. are not purely American-made. Target is sounding the alarm on consumer spending and the impact of tariffs, another sign of strain on the U.S. economy. The retail giant says consumer confidence is slipping. February sales were down, and growth this year may barely hit 1%. Tariff uncertainty is also expected to cut into profits this quarter. Target CEO warns prices on fruits and vegetables could rise this week due to tariffs on Mexico. This follows Walmart's recent warning that 2025 could be a rough year for retail. New Barbie dolls are launching for International Women's Day, celebrating the power of friendship. Mattel says women are more likely to find happiness and success with strong friendships, and these dolls highlight just that. Honorees include Olympic gymnasts Jordan Childs and Jade Carey, British actresses Hannah Waddingham and Juno Temple, Australian tennis champs Yvonne Goolagong-Cawley and Ash Barty, and Brazilian actress Paola Antonini with the real-life woman she portrayed, Kellen Ferreira. This follows Barbie dolls inspired by Alicia Keys and her recording engineer, Ann Missielli. Well, still to come on 25 News Now at 5, Derby season is almost here with a new commemorative bottle being unveiled.
Coming up tonight, President Trump igniting a trade war, the Dow dropping more than 1,300 points in 2 days, what this now means for the prices you pay. Also, this massive storm tonight, snow, confirmed tornadoes set to hit the East Coast next to D.C. right up through New York next.
Another sign that Derby season is fast approaching. Today at Churchill Downs, the 2025 commemorative Kentucky Derby 151 bottle was released. This year's bottle features the artwork of Humberto Lejera and his painting entitled Dynamic Race. The Cuban-born artist now calls Kentucky home. Derby 151 is scheduled to be run on the first Saturday in May, which falls on the 3rd this year. Woodford Reserve has been making Derby bottles since 1999. That's one of those you get it just for the look of the label, pretty label, and
well, but it's very pretty. I mean, you could see it. I could see that in my living room there, you know. Hey, we just got word. I just got a note from some friends that there is a wildfire south end of town, 77 and Fleming Prairie Road. And so the crews are working it. If you happen to be going down 77, just do be cautious, be careful, and hopefully, they'll get enough manpower on it and make sure that it doesn't spread, because the winds are still a problem. The humidity is extremely low, and we sort of expected this kind of a problem. So tonight, it's still windy, but it will be settling down. Tomorrow's high temperature 74 because of the north wind, but abundant sunshine, low humidity, plenty of sun, a little on the breezy side until about Saturday. Then the Gulf air rolls back in. So keep your hat on.
All right, you said 77 in Fleming Prairie?
On south end of town.
All right, avoid that area if you can. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in 30 minutes.